Hey YouTubers, hey, it's me, Vic. I want to talk to you today about the voice of the Lord. I had a conversation recently with a girlfriend of mine who hadn't been saved very long, and she was really struggling with this issue. And I know when I first got saved, a long time ago, I struggled with it too, so I thought, I think I'll just make a little video about this, and maybe I can explain some things and break it down a little easier and make it easier for you to understand if you're struggling with this. So let's talk about the voice of the Lord. Okay, the first thing you have to understand is that men complicate the Word of God. They make things a lot more complicated than they should be. And so a lot of the base things that pertain to our salvation, just the very basics of the tenets of our faith, God has put them into the Word in such a way that they're very, very easy to understand. It's only when you let men and interpretation, things like that, come in and they convolute, complicate. But really the basic tools that are necessary for our salvation, the basic things that we need that pertain to life, are really put in there very simply, and even a child could understand. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the voice of the Lord, because if you hear a lot of preachers talking about it, it sounds like this, like you have to get up to this certain level before you can really discern and understand, and it's really not complicated at all, people. Okay, so brass tacks, I'm going to get into it. Okay, the easiest way I can put it is that the world has perverted the voice of the Lord and has robbed it away from people. And it really, really is as simple as I told you that it was. And let me explain that to you. Okay, your conscience is the voice of the Lord, people. That's God. It's that simple. It's just that simple. It's your conscience. That's the voice of the Lord. The world has robbed us of this just common basic knowledge, and they put that tag, conscience, on there. See, conscience. No, that's not your conscience. The Word says, and God says, that He's given every man a measure of faith, so that everyone is able to be saved, and no one is going to be able to stand Judgment Day and say, well, Lord, I didn't know. You didn't tell me. Yeah, He did tell you. He tells us every day. You just didn't listen. I'll tell you my first experience, first conversation I had with God, and it was right before I became born again, and at the time I didn't realize it was a conversation with God. And maybe this will kind of help you understand the voice of the Lord a little more. So I was at the lowest point in my life. I was an atheist, and just a very, very low point in my life. Just circumstances just too dark that I don't even care to recount them. So anyways, I was alone one night, all by myself, and I had no one to turn to. And I thought to myself, even if God is real, I couldn't call out to Him. I can't call out to Him. And this voice, and this small, still voice inside of me said, why can't you cry out to Him? And it almost sounded like my own voice. It almost sounded like me, and I misinterpreted, and I thought I was having a conversation with myself. It wasn't until after I was born again for quite a while that I was able to look back and go, oh, that was God. That was God. So anyways, yeah, I was like, at the lowest. I can't even cry out to God. And this voice says, why not? Why can't you cry out to God? And I said, thinking I was talking to myself, well, because I'm a sinner. And this voice came back and said, well, yeah, you are. Well, why can't you cry out to God? And I said, well, I smoke cigarettes. Yeah. Why can't you cry out to God? Well, I cuss like a sailor. Yeah, you do. Why can't you cry out to God? And it was kind of like this feeling that came along with the question every time was like, that's not a good enough answer. So I went through the whole litany, the whole list of all my sins, and I was like, well, I do this. Yeah, you do, but why can't you cry out to God? Well, I do this. And you know, I finally got to the point where I listed every sin known to myself, and still that same small, still voice was coming back. Why can't you cry out to God? Like, you haven't given me a good enough reason. So at that point, when I had, you know, laid all my sins out there and nothing was good enough, there was still this question coming back over and over and over. Well, why can't you cry out to God? I finally gave in, and I was like, well, okay. And I prayed. Probably the first prayer of my whole life. And this is what I prayed. I said, God, if you're real, reveal yourself to me, please. If you're really real and you're out there and you care about me and you could help me, then would you please reveal yourself to me? And if you do that, then I promise you that I will receive you as my God and I will follow you. And about a week later, through circumstances, God brought a woman into my life who eventually led me to the Lord and in the sinner's prayer, which is enough. You know, I may share my testimony later, but yeah, that was my very first conversation with God. And when I had that conversation, I thought I was talking to myself. I thought I was, it sounded like me in a way. You know, it's like Jesus said, I'm the shepherd, they're my sheep, they hear my voice and no other will they follow. So it's pretty easy, people. It's really, really basic and easy. It is, the voice of the Lord is just a small, still, calm, loving, caring, gentle voice that you hear and speak to your heart, and you would almost mistake it for your own voice. It's that familiar. It's that familiar to you. Almost, you think it's you, but it's not. The same way with your conscience. That's what I'm telling you, people. You know, before you do any sin, before you commit any sin, there's always that little voice that says, don't do that. Don't do that. Well, you know, if you do that, this, and this may happen. You know, that's God, people. That's the voice of the Lord. It's really not rocket science. It's not hard at all. It's very, very simple. And some other things that I would tell you about the voice of the Lord that might encourage you and help you to figure this out if you're struggling with it. It's always calm. It's never rushed. It's never hurried. Never comes with condemnation. Never, never, never. It's always loving, caring, gentle, still. It's strong, but it's a soft voice. It's encouraging. Even when it's chastising, even when it's getting on you, it's still doing it in a kind, loving, gentle manner. And there's nothing, you know, there's no condemnation. If it comes with condemnation, that's not God. That's not God. You know, it's love, it's peace, it's still. And another thing I want to add, in your prayer closet, if, you know, you just sometimes you find yourselves in those situations where you're like, you know, I need an answer to this prayer, and I just need an answer. I'm going in my prayer closet. I'm not coming out until I get an answer, because I need to know. I need to hear from God. Well, when you get in there and you've poured it all out to God, you've made your prayer, your petition, you've asked, you put it all out there. It's all out there. After you've done all of that, then you have to be still. Just be still. Be quiet. Wait. Listen. I promise you, He will talk to you. He will tell you what you need to know. You just have to be quiet. Be still. And listen. So, what else would I say about the voice of the Lord? It's just so simple, people. It really is just that simple. Man has come in and convoluted it and confused it and, compiled it and all of these things. And it's just really that simple. It's just that simple. He's with us always. And like I said, you will never sin without the voice of the Lord tapping you on the shoulder and saying, don't do that. Don't do that. It's like with my children. I get on to them when they do certain things. And it's my standard line. I tell them every time. I'm like, okay, cannot tell me that God did not tap you on the shoulder and tell you, don't do that before you did that. And I've raised 5 kids, and not a one of them has ever said, you know what, Mom, he didn't tell me. He didn't say a word, because he does. Every time. God says, in every instance, he'll provide for us a way of escape. So every time, God is not like us. He is faithful. He is diligent. He will always provide a way of escape. So, yeah, that small, still voice that the world calls a conscience, no conscience. That's God. That's God. And he's there, and he's leading us. Right from wrong. You're on road A, you need to get on road B. That's the way God works. It's never pushy. It's never controlling. He will never override your free will. That's not God's style. You're free to choose. But if you'll listen, you'll hear him talking to you every day, a lot. That's God, people. That's the voice of the Lord. That's the shepherd. That's the Holy Ghost. That's who we follow. And if we'll just learn to heed and obey, to tune into that, and then to obey it faithfully. Because here's one thing, obeying's a whole nother ballgame. And once you learn what the voice of the Lord is, then you'll learn what comes next is obedience. Instant and season, obeying without thought, just doing what God tells us to do. So anyway, another time. But yeah, that's the voice of the Lord, people. And I don't know how to break it down any easier or simplify it for you beyond that, because that's the truth, and it's as simple as you can get. So God bless you, people. I hope that encourages you, helps you a little bit, and ministers to you if you're struggling with that. And I guess I will talk to you again soon. Take care. I love you all. God bless.